Welcome to Stay Home, how to get from chaos to balance when working from home with kids during a pandemic. I'm Jen Talbinze, occupational therapist with AltaVie Health Center in the Okanagan Valley in beautiful British Columbia. The key takeaways I want you to have when you leave this video are having realistic expectations and having a few minutes to really think about your priorities and getting the things done that matter during this pandemic while we're at home, social distancing, taking care of everybody. Second thing we're going to look at is setting up your kids for success and setting yourself up for success so you can get some work done while at home. We're going to use a bunch of tools, including schedules and how to make them work for you rather than adding more stress to your day. We're going to look into setting up a home office. What are some quick things to think about for your space to increase your productivity, to help your family know when you're working and when you're available, and tips and tricks to help your body. Sometimes when we don't have the right chairs or the right heights of laptops and configurations, we can get sore necks, backs, ankles, everything. So we'll get you set up and as best as possible with what you already have at home. Finally, we're going to look at calling in your team. Who do you have for supports right now, and how can you use them to make life as simple as possible, and how can you get breaks when you need them? Before we get started, make sure you take a second to download the PDF of all of the tools that we're going to be using today. You can either follow along on your device or you can print them out and have a piece of paper in front of you, whatever you prefer. So to start out, I want you to imagine that you woke up this morning and there is an energy meter, like in the video games, above your head, okay? Everything you do is gonna affect the energy meter above your head. So when you brush your teeth and shower and get dressed, what does it do to that energy meter? Does it take away some? Does it add some? Are you more awake than you were? You tell me, this is your energy meter. We're gonna use the sheet in this next in the first page of your PDF. And we're going to write down all those activities that you do and how much energy they use up. So in the example, it has 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and that's just like how many hours I approximated that I used. The first one is pandemic related energy. And this is to validate that all of our lives have been affected by social distancing, if not, or at the very least, have been interrupted by everything COVID-19. Humans like doing the same thing over and over because we become more efficient. For example, driving. When you're going to work or the grocery store, people take the same route every time. It's easier because it takes less cognitive load for you to think about the directions. Okay, and there's less choices to make on your way. You don't have to say, oh, should I go left or right? You know you're going left every time. Within the social distancing practices, we have a higher cognitive load pretty much in every decision we make. Even if we're thinking about going grocery shopping, oh, what time is the grocery store open? Even if we're going to the same one that we always go to. Are the hours changed? Do I have to bring my own bags or should I use the reusable ones? All those kind of things. Sometimes even our routines at the grocery store have changed. Maybe we're waiting outside to get in. We have to use hand sanitizer, all of those things. So now grocery shopping that used to take 90 minutes from door to door takes 2 hours just because we have to think through all these pieces. And then it might actually take more like energy to get through that grocery shop as well. So that's why I just like have a little blanket box of pandemic related energy. And that's what we're going to put all of that extra energy for making decisions. We're going to just put it into that little section. So you don't have to add time to each one of your activities. Okay. As you fill it out, don't worry that you have more hours than there are in the day. I think that's the norm for most people. We're all trying to do too much right now. But for this activity, it's really important to just use it as like a brain dump and write down everything that you typically do in a day. You can pause the video here to finish your worksheet, or you can scribble this down on a piece of paper, however you're doing it, and then press play when you're ready to keep going. I'm sure you guys have a big page or 2 pages or a pile of papers in front of you, and that might be a little overwhelming. I want to go through each one of them and prioritize them into really important, pretty important, and maybe not so important. I'm going to share with you this jar of life intention kind of story. The pictures on the screen here are from Patrick Buggy, linked to his blog there. But basically, it's a story of a professor explaining priorities to a university class. And he has a jar in front of him. And the jar is filled with sand at the bottom and then gravel. And then he's got a bunch of rocks. And he can't fit all the rocks into the jar. And he asked the students if the jar is full. And they all said, yeah. So then he dumps the jar out and he separates the rocks, the gravel, and the sand. And he puts the rocks in first. And he asks, is it full? And then he pours the gravel in and asks, is it full? And the students are like, yeah. And then he pours the sand in and it fits in all the spaces in between the gravel. And again, he asks, is it full? So he's just talking about priorities. So we can get more into our jar by putting in the big rocks first. And then we can add in all the medium, less important stuff, and it'll find little nooks and crannies to go into to stay in your jar. And then when you put in the sand at the very end, it's going to find even smaller little spaces to fill. Okay, so it's just a way of thinking. Yeah, if you Google the jar of your life, you can get lots of explanations on the story. But I want us to use this sheet to kind of sort our activities into priorities. So if you were using the worksheet, feel free to cut like long strips, longer strips for things that take more time, shorter strips for activities that take less time, and then just sort them into rocks, which are super important things, gravel, pretty important, but not the most important, and sand, you know what, if maybe they don't get done, it's not the biggest thing in the world. Okay, pause here and sort all of your papers now. If you're doing it on a worksheet or don't have scissors or don't feel like cutting anything out right now, just pick 3 different color pens or 3 different shapes and indicate the priority level on your paper. So that's been a lot of work, so I thought I'd share 2 little memes to lighten the mood a little bit. So I know having priorities is all fine and dandy, but when there's kids around, even with our best intentions, sometimes things get a little messy. The priority lists, we're just going to check away for a second. We're going to bring those ones back. But right now, we're going to focus on just your work tasks and then just your kids and family activities. The first category on the left is all hands on deck. These are family activities where you're not doing anything else but being with family. Okay, so it can be bedtime routine. It can be when we play with paints. It can be anything like that, anything that's meaningful to your family. Put a bunch of ideas down there. Those are special times that you don't want to be multitasking. That's your family's connection time. The next category is where you need to check in. So those are things where, wow, you know what, actually, my kid can play Lego for a pretty long time. They want to show me always what they're making, so they can probably play for like 5 minutes and then are like, hey mom, check out my T-Rex or whatever they made. And they're looking for your support, or maybe it's coloring or doing a craft, but it's always like, oh, I can't cut out this piece, I need your help. Or where did we put the glitter? And there's always lots of questions. So they're pretty independent in the activity, but there's always a lot of check-ins. Or maybe it's just something that you need to be a little bit more hands-on for. Okay, so that's our need to check in category. Fill out a couple of those. Feel free to pause the video whenever you need. And then the last column is for independent play or minimum supervision. We all know kids need constant supervision, but this is the category where your kids are going to do the most on their own. Okay, so think about those activities. For most kids I know, this is kind of those special occasion things like watching a movie, video games, maybe not what we want our kids doing all day long, but it does help them, or they can do it by themselves. I'm sure you have ideas coming into your head of what have you seen your child do and they could do for hours. Now we're going to move to work tasks. So when you're thinking about work, what are those jobs within your job that you need all of your focus for? There can't be distractions. There can't be a kid coming in, running in, saying, hey mom, how do I put the glitter on my fairy that I'm making, right? What do you need to have all of the attention on your work? Okay, these can be the teleconference calls, these could be client meetings, these could be report writing. I don't know your job, you know your job. What are those pieces that you need to fully be there? Then the next category is quick steps. So I always like to give the example of emails. So it's maybe a big task for you. Maybe you have 30 emails a day or something like that. But when you go into your inbox, there's natural breaks and pauses within that task. So you can do, okay, read the email, respond to that email, check in on that glitter fairy situation, right? Come back, next email. Okay, finish that little mini task, check in on, oh, I really like your Lego T-Rex. Come back, one more email, right? So that's kind of an intermittent task where you're still focused on emails. And yeah, it'd be ideal if you could just have full focus the whole time. But if you didn't, that task wouldn't take that much longer because you're kind of changing your thoughts between emails anyway. Okay. And then the last one is kind of focus. I call it focus with flexibility. So this is the work activities that you can you need a little bit of flow, but you can get interrupted at any time. So maybe it's a report that you're writing and it's something you've written 100 times, or it's a quote you're putting out, and you can get interrupted and come back and kind of know exactly where you are. You're on, table number 3. So you can just hop back in. Yeah, it's going to be really dependent on what kind of job you have, on which sort of tasks you can start and end at any point. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to play a matching game, because those are pretty fun. Or at least the kids I work with really like matching games. So we're going to match all of the, first thing we're going to do is take all of the all hands on deck activities. And those ones don't get matched with anything because you can only do those. Okay, so those can go off to the side. The next thing we're going to look at is the need to check in. All those activities, match them with your quick steps activities. So that's that email type of task where it's like a little bit of work, okay, a break would make sense. A little bit of work, a short break would make sense. A little bit of work, short break would make sense. Okay, so those two go together. So we're going to match that Lego activity with emails, and I check in on their Lego experience after each email. The last one is that independent minimal supervision, and we're going to match it with the focus and flexibility. So where you're really working on those reports, but when your kid does have a question, you can stop at any point in that project and attune to your kid. Okay. And then the full focus work tasks, those are the ones that someone else is watching the kids or have to get reprioritized if you're the only adult at home. Okay. If you're the only adult at home, I would just put all the full focus and all the focus with flexibility tasks together, and then match those with that independent minimum supervision category. So for a lot of parents, this might be the time where you realize that you can't ask your kid to be doing schoolwork while you're in those important meetings. And I think that was kind of the ideal hope. But a lot of us instantly thought, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to be a team, and kids are going to be doing schoolwork while I'm doing my work, and then we'll all be done at 2 and go for a walk, and everything will be amazing. That's not quite the case. I don't think it happens very often. So I think that's something that we need to wrap our heads around, that us all being productive at the same time might not be the best way to set us all up for success. Now that we have tasks matched and we have a big list of activities that you need to get done every day, it's time to just put it in a schedule and make it happen. In the toolkit, there's 4 calendars. There's a adult 5-day, a family 5-day, a adult 7-day, and a family 7-day calendar. So if you've decided to work over the weekends because you realize that there's not enough time for you to be able to get all your work priority tasks done on the 5 days, a lot of families have moved to doing some weekends as well, just to make the balance in your day a little bit easier, and it's just realistic for them. This is a choice that you got to make for yourself and for your family, but that has been something that has helped some families take some of the stress off, or even working one extra day on the weekend. because they know it's not realistic to get all 8 hours every day. So getting 6 is more achievable, or 4s, or whatever it may be. Basically, we're going to start with our priorities and put those in to your week. And then we're going to match our work activities with what our kids are doing to try and set us up for success and actually being able to get those work tasks done. So what that might look like is, and it's going to be a mess, so don't think it's going to look perfect the first time. This is a process and learning activity as you do it, just like the brain dump. It wasn't supposed to equal out to 24 hours. It was just supposed to be kind of what you're experiencing. Okay, let's put some priorities in. So maybe one of your priorities was doing bedtime routine together. So we're going to put bedtime in on Monday on the adult schedule, and then we're going to put it in the kiddo schedule. Okay. I mean, hopefully you can fit in the box a little bit better than I did, but if you can't, that's fine too. These will be very pretty calendars. Okay. And then, so fill in all the priorities. Maybe another priority is it's really important to your family to have breakfast together. I don't know. Maybe that's something cool for you guys. So family brekkie on Tuesdays. Okay, so we'll put that on Tuesday. And then that means for the kids, family breakfast. Maybe it's silly pancake day or something like that, right? So maybe put that in. Pancakes on Tuesday morning. Again, it'll probably look a little bit better on your screen than what we're doing here with these tools. So now we have all our priorities because you only have 2, right? Then we'll look at some of those gravel and sand tasks. So pause the video, do your rock, sand, and gravel. And then whenever it said work, we're going to hone in a little bit. So just leave work on the adult side, and then we'll match the kids after. So say we have work on Monday afternoons, and now we're going to go back and look at those matched activities. Okay, so say work starts with emails. Emails were under those quick tasks, right? So what was a quick task for the kids? Oh, it was Lego. I can't remember, but maybe it was Lego. So then you're going to line them up. So on Mondays, you check your email for work. So that's when we're going to set the kids up with a cool Lego package. Okay. Or that's when all the Lego just gets dumped in the front room and hopefully they play. So we're going to match those up. And maybe your emails, and you get 100 emails a day. So you might need a couple of those intermittent tasks where you can check a few emails and say, oh, nice dinosaur, and come back. Okay. So maybe it's Legos and coloring. Those will be your 2 that match up. I don't know why coloring didn't move over, but those will be your 2 that matched up with emails. Okay. Then you're going to put in those harder full focus ones. And maybe that full focus report happens in the early morning because there's no one else to supervise the kids. So that has to happen before they wake up. Okay. So full focus, maybe that was a report. Or maybe that's a teleconference. And now that we're starting to look at some of these things, if everyone's doing it, we really need to be kind and give anyone we're working with some grace right now and some patience, because everybody else is juggling their kids' schedules too. So this isn't necessarily the time to say, this is the only time I'm available. But it could be saying, hey, this would be the best time because my kids aren't up yet, and just see what they say. I mean, it's all about how much you want to disclose, but I think right now we just have to assume and give everyone the benefit of the doubt that they're just trying to make it work with what's working in their home right now. Okay, so now you're going to go through the rest of your list and match up all your work jobs with the kiddo specific jobs, or the kiddo activities that would make sense together. When you're done your schedule or your draft, take a look back. Make sure all of your full focus work tasks that are on the adult calendar, take a look at the kid calendar or the family calendar and make sure that either someone else is watching the kids during those activities. If you're lucky enough to be quarantined with another adult who can take care of the kids, or an older responsible child, or they're sleeping. Okay, so those full focus work tasks, you're pairing with those options. And then double check on the family calendar and the adult calendar that all of the all hands on deck activities. So anything that kids require constant support, or those activities that are really meaningful to your family, make sure that they match on both the adult and the family calendar. Okay, I don't want anyone missing out on those really important family memories and family time because they're checking email. So now that we have our time and our activities planned, I want to get into how are we actually working. I love this image. It was made by Kyla, an occupational therapist in Montreal. And it's just a quick overview of how you can make your space work with things from at home. So she's really emphasizing the rule of 90 degrees. So your ankles, knees, hips, and elbows all need to be at 90. You can see in the screen, hopefully that image is coming in clear for you. Feet elevated, I think, is one that lots of people forget. If you have yoga blocks, a rolled up towel, a board game, cereal boxes, those are all really good hard things that you can use, textbooks, whatever you have around to elevate your feet. And then the lumbar support. So that means support right behind your back when you're sitting. I have one right now. It's my couch pillow. So it can be a pillow, it can be a towel, it can be a rolled up sweatshirt, whatever you have going. One relaxed position. So having a screen that is eye level, and then your hands being, your elbows being that 90 degree. Okay, so you can get that by getting a keyboard that can attach to your computer or attach to your laptop and putting the keyboard lower, or having your screen go higher. The rest you can see in the picture. So when you're picking your space to be your home office, I want you to think about lighting, soundproofing, and Wi-Fi quality. So I know my biggest mistake was setting up, we have a little attic space, and I thought that would be great because it'd be tucked away from everything else. And then after I set up my nice ergonomic station with, you know, cardboard boxes under my feet and good towel and a chair and a makeshift desk, I realized the Wi-Fi didn't happen up there. So I had to rework everything. So I would check the Wi-Fi, check the lighting, and if you can get some natural light in, sometimes that's really helpful for people. If not, can you bring a lamp in? How can you make sure that your eyes aren't doing any more work than they need to? And then soundproofing. I know the one perk of having multiple adults at home is that there's lots of people to watch the kids and you have someone to talk to. But also if they're working, you might get phone calls happening at the same time, or you can hear what the kids are doing. So if there's any way to soundproof the room or part of the room, that's really helpful. But again, probably not something you have lying around. So if you do, use it. If not, don't worry about it. That doesn't mean you can't make an office at home. Closed door option, super helpful to actually get things done. And that's a great visual cue for kids to know, oh, actually mom's at work or dad's at work. Like this isn't time for me to run in there. But if you're the only one home, closed door, not gonna fly. You can be creative with it. If your kids have a good sense of humor or old enough, maybe you have a sign and it's like, can it wait? Or can you ask a sibling, play something else? Like you can have a list. There's a bunch of things on Pinterest if you look for office door signs for your kids. One thing I like to use sometimes when I have a lot of different people coming and going is I'm working hat. So it's a visual cue. It can be a sign, it can be a shirt, it can be a jacket, it can be anything. But when I am wearing this hat or this jacket, don't talk to me, I'm working. Like this is my job. It's a really nice visual cue for people around you. Just be sure to take off that. It's usually quite large and silly, but you take that off before you do video conferences, else there's a lot of explaining to do to the people on the other end. And then when you're working, say you could have longer chunks of time to get work done, I really recommend finding the sweet spot amount of work. So for me, it's about 90 minutes. And there's a bunch of studies out there on how long our brain can actually do productive work for in a segment. And the numbers go from, don't quote me on it, but between like an hour and 90 to 120 minutes. My sweet spot is 90, probably because it takes me a few minutes to get settled in, and then I get distracted along the way. But if I can have one task to focus on for upwards of 90 minutes, that's usually when I get the most done on that task. So find the sweet spot for you, and it'll just save you time. Like if you're gonna wake up before your kids and think you're gonna work for 2 hours, maybe that is way too big of a chunk. So there's no point for you to be more sleep deprived, right? Only budget that hour and a half. Or maybe your sweet spot is 45 minutes, right? So then you're only budgeting for the time you can actually be productive before the kids get up. And then the same thing when they go to bed. So only have one task ready to go for that little chunk of time. Okay. Then I have a little checklist, my get it done checklist. And this is a good opportunity for you to just brainstorm what are the things that you need to be productive in work. So for me, I need water, I need snacks, a bathroom break. Are you doing that before? Are you doing that after? Or is it going to interrupt your flow? And then you might get, asked by the kids for a snack and for where's my teddy bear and all these things. Good smelling candle, like what's going to help you get the most out of that precious work time that you have. Blanket, socks, sweater. I think a lot of us have preset temperatures in the house, and it can get quite cold if you're not moving around building forts with your kids. So that is my checklist for what I need. You probably have different things on there, what you like to have when you are working. So just take a minute to jot those down. And as you notice that, I interrupted my hour work slot because I had to go get my cool pens or my journal, then make sure those new items go back on the list. So that's to set us up for getting things done and working. What about our kids? They need some stuff too. So when you're expecting them to play in a certain area, how can we set it up for them that it's more fun? If they're reading books, can you make it into like a reading fort? Can you quickly throw a blanket over a couple couches so that it's like super special and they want to spend more time there? Can you have the library of your books, so maybe you have 4 or 5 books, put them in a wagon, and then the kids get to pull it in. So then their bodies are a little bit more tired and they're ready to read for longer. In the other videos, stay healthy and stay smart, we're gonna have more tips on setting those kiddos up. But so tune into those for if you want more details like this. Other things are, what are the common things your kids are asking you for? Like snacks, I think is always one. So what I would recommend is having a bunch of snacks ready to go in the fridge or in the pantry that when they ask you, you don't have to go and cut veggies and then bring them back. You can just go grab them and hand them off, or having them in containers or whatever that your kids can help themselves to snacks, depending on their age and their responsibility with that. So use your judgment, but just know that you can have all those snacks ready so that you can just grab and go. So it could be like that intermittent break between email checks. You can actually have the snack for them rather than having to take a 15-minute break so that you can actually make their snack and give it. And the last thing is, a lot of us will take out some really cool things for our kids, but they don't notice at all. So maybe you guys are doing crafts and you're kind of working in the corner, doing some of those intermittent tasks. One of the best things you can do is before you start, go with them around the table of all the different things they can use. So here's the glitter, here's the tape, here's the glue, here's the pom-poms, here's the blah, 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 blah. Because then it's gonna hopefully reduce the numbers of, hey mom, where's the glitter? Because they instantly go to you instead of knowing it's already on the table. So help them scan through what's available in whatever they're doing. There have been some really quick thinking families out there. An OT friend of mine was telling me some of the families she works with created COVID coupon books. So these were really cool family activities, movie coupon that they can rent online, video game, all those kind of things that were motivating for their kids. And then they had the coupon book like with them, or they looked at the coupons every night and kind of said, hey, like these are the goals for the kids for that day. And then if they do it, they got a coupon. That's more for older kids. Or you have to complete these 3 things and you get a coupon for the little ones. It's more of in the moment. So, hey, this was so great. Here's a coupon for you get to pick one of your coupons out, which I thought was really fun. And it really brings together that team family effort, that everyone's doing their best. The other thing I recommend giving to kids when you are in that focused but flexible work task is bathroom cards or snack cards or ask mom cards or ask dad cards or ask auntie cards, whatever it is. But basically 2 or 5, they can be objects, they can be cards, they can be pieces of paper, it can be anything. But basically they can trade them in with you. So you get to interrupt mom, 5 times or 15 times, depending on your kid, or 3. So you can open my office door, but you have to give me one of your cards. Right? And then when they're out of cards, they're out of asks. So this is a great learning tool for them to try and pace out how many times they're going to use their cards. Okay. Again, you know your family the best. Only use tools that you've used in the past or think might work for your kids. And if they don't, let them go. It's all about trial and error as a family. I want to talk about break ideas for the whole family. So every time in your schedule that you're switching between activities, maybe there's a good space for a break. Physical breaks, getting outside, those are pretty self-explanatory. Do those things. They're great for everybody. It's also nice to break up your workday to do those things. Play is so important, and it actually can increase your productivity. So playing with your kids for a 15-minute break might be more productive than that 15-minute coffee break that you normally take. It's different for everyone, but play is just defined as anything that isn't productive. Like there isn't a goal in play. It's just being there with your kid. My first instinct when people tell me to take a break is, well, I have too much to do, or I'm too busy, or all these kind of things. How am I supposed to make that work? Well, I heard Chandra Rhimes had a great interview about the power of play and how it changed her life. If you don't know, Chandra Rhimes is a legendary TV producer, and she was doing an interview in one of the busiest times of her work career. She was like, I think she was doing Grey's and private practice and Scandal all at once. So she was running a lot of TV shows, very busy woman. But she had an interview with Oprah about how she found balance in that overscheduled life in 2 steps. She started saying no to things that didn't matter. And that was like looking at her priorities, right? Saying no to some of those sand activities and saying, and then the other part was saying yes. She said yes to her biggest rocks, which were her daughters. Her daughter was 3 at the time and was always asking, hey, mom, can I play? Hey, mom, want to play? Hey, mom, want to play? And it'd be, on her way out with her briefcase on her shoulder, and she's ready to go. And then her daughter's coming up and saying, do you want to play with me? And she felt like a bad parent and all these kind of things. Was saying, no, I have to go. So she just one day said yes. And her daughter was 3 at the time, so she could play for about 10 minutes and then it was on to the next thing. So it was only a 10-minute break in Chandra's day, but it completely changed the way she saw herself as a mom, and she believes it completely changed their relationship. So if she can find time to take 10-minute breaks to play, I think we all can. So that was just a really cool story that's kind of stuck with me and really said, my number one excuse for not playing is, I have too many things to get done. And I think that goes to show that play is just as important and can actually get you doing more. And then the last piece I want to talk about is celebrate. So when things are hard and stressful, I think sometimes we forget to celebrate. So take moments to really appreciate and reflect on things that are going well, and you can practice some gratitude. So I'm so happy we got to do this today, or this really made me feel special today, or when we were face painting and we made it through 15 minutes before you started painting the walls. That was really cool. We did 15 minutes of really great painting. Maybe tomorrow we can do 17, right? So just really appreciating where you're at and where your kids are at, and celebrating those little things that happen in the day that are great. This is a really quick skim over play, celebration, and break ideas. In the upcoming 2 videos, Stay Smart and Stay Healthy, I'll do deeper dives into all of those. So stay tuned for that if you're looking for more content in those areas. Social distancing, even the name it hurts your heart, right? You're away from people that you need, and your social supports feel like they get cut. So I just want to talk about taking a minute to write down everyone you have in your life that can be a support for you. So this is something to do when your bucket is full, when you are feeling good and supported and things are okay. This is not something to do when you're down in the dumps and you're looking for those supports. Okay, this has to be done beforehand. So as soon as you're feeling okay, because I know we are all on these different waves of emotions, I want you to do this when you're on a high. I want to share with you guys a quote from John Kabat-Zinn, and that's, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. So the world is facing really big waves right now, and we're all in those waves. Some of us may have more like cruise ships, and other people are riding on a raft. But what we can all focus on is learning how to surf. So I want you to think about the team you have around you and the resources you have around you that can help make surfing a little bit easier. So virtual supports. Who can you Skype? Who can you call? Start thinking a little creatively of how you can use those conference calls and those Skype calls. I know a lot of families are having a happy hour and they're having snacks and just connecting as families, which has been super fun for them. I think you can always do activities together as well over the computer. And sometimes there's some learning curves, but it honestly has been a smoother transition for myself than I thought it was going to be. So can your kid's aunt or uncle or grandma, can they do a craft over the computer, right? Or even can you set your kids up with a craft while they're talking to those family members, so that then grandma can comment on, wow, that's a really cool T-Rex you're building, right? So it's just a really fun way that it's not just talking. You can actually engage in what you guys are doing together. So that's really fun. So think about your virtual um, tools. So whether it's FaceTime or Zoom or any of these kind of teleconferencing platforms, how you can use them for more than just talking. Physical supports. Who is around? Is there anyone that can help you and give you a break in the house? Physical resources, like what kind of toys do you have? Can you take some toys and hide them away so you can slowly introduce them again? Or do you have a really cool library in your room? Can you start giving your kids a couple books? How can we use the stuff you already have in cool, unique ways? Um, and then work-related supports. Think about who can you call on when, you know what, you did your priority list and you're not going to get everything done for your workday. It's just not happening. Who can you call? Who can you give tasks to? And whose task can you take? So maybe there's some more of those intermittent tasks or those quick tasks that you could take off someone else's plate if they can do some of those full focus teleconference calls for you. So really think about who is your team at work and how can you support them and how can they support you. Get things done because we're going to be in social distancing for a while, so we may as well make the best of it. And we can't get burnt out because there's life on the other end too. And then finally, for resources, who's around you, who's in your community that you can call on for support. So that can be anything from grocery delivery to your favorite local restaurant is doing takeaway meals, anything like that. Healthcare providers, a lot of people are giving telehealth options. Look to them. And just anyone in your community that is doing something bright. I know right now in the autism community, there are some campfire sing-alongs happening and some really fun, unique online interactive programming. So take a look what's going on in your community or worldwide to help support you, support your family during this tough time. Okay, and just keep that list updated because I think these are constantly changing and more and more resources are coming closer and closer to us. That's the video for today. Thank you for tuning in. Stay healthy and stay smart. We'll be out soon. And if you have any questions, please feel free to connect with us at AltaVie Health. Our email is there, phone number is there, and comment below. Share this video with anyone you think it would be helpful for. And yeah, let's start a conversation with it. I'll see you guys all soon. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear the things that you really took from this video, or any suggestions or things that you've found helpful working from home with kids. Put it in the comments below. And if you have any questions or want to connect, please feel free to connect with us at AltaVie Health Center. Our contact information is here. Thanks for being here. Have a great day and good luck working from home with kids.